Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be doing something a little different. Today we're going to be doing the top 5 most, I want to say, not so much, we're going to say the top 5 saddest locations in World of Warcraft. And of course, today at number 5, we have Torga. Now, Torga was one of the Loa of the Zandalari pantheon. He was a wise and benevolent Loa, and the Tortolan people used to travel for miles and make pilgrimages annually to hear his stories. However, for those of you who started the Zandalari quest line in Nazmir, you will see that right here on the map is a location called Torga's Rest. And you will see that the blood trolls, not only did they butcher him, but much like the trolls in Icecrown, well, not Icecrown, but, shoot, been so long since I've actually been there, but in Northrend, the trolls of Zoldrak, not only did they kill their Loa, thinking it would give them enough strength to fend off the Lich King, but they actually ate and devoured their Loa. With that being said, the blood trolls, as we see, are no different. Not only did they hollow out Tortola, or Torga, as you can see, due to the holes, they've actually made a village out of Torga, which, with a shell like that, it'd be hard to do bombardment raids, but yeah. With that being said, let us all have 1 minute of silence for Torga. And with that being said, on to number 4. And now on to number 4, with number 4 being the Dead Scar. A big chunk of Silvermoon that runs not only through Silvermoon, literally dividing it in half, but dividing, let's see here, the whole, I guess, nation of Eversong Woods here, literally down the middle. Now, this is the walk of that Arthas took into Silvermoon, and it is where he levied his infamous ultimatum. The hourglass empties. Lower your defenses. Grant me access to the Sunwell, and I will reward you with eternal servitude. Refuse, and I will not only end your lives, but the lives of those you love, your mothers, fathers, and children. None will remain to mourn your passing. And that was said he took, as he stood outside the walls before unleashing his scourge and literally ripping Silvermoon down the middle. Now, with that being said, this was also partially, if we say, look at the map over here, we have, let's see, start here. Yep, okay. There is also some damage that was done by the elves themselves. The goal of which being to stop his scourge, the rot, from spreading any further. And by burning the trees, burning anything living beyond a certain point, his infectious death and rot and decay could not spread any further because it needed to come into contact with living tissue, more or less, living grass, living trees, anything living to spread. And this is what brought them up against Whitebeard, I do believe, or White Oak, the tree ant. when you start off as a Blood Elf, one of the quests you do is you find a locket. You take it back to a Grove Guardian, and she tells you that it belonged to, it was a gift. It belonged to her, but it was a gift from her friend, this old treant. Now, once you know, talk to him about it, he will attack you. You kill him, and it's due to the fact that the Grove Warden told you that you had to kill the treants because they were trying to bring life back into the Dead Scar and into any areas that the elves themselves had blighted by in their attempt to stop the infection from spreading. As the treants worked to kind of counteract that and keep the trees going, the grass growing, ultimately ending in you basically killing the treant elder, giving her the locket back. She asks you to bury it. That summons the spirit of the treant elder, and he says that basically in a time when the night or the blood elves are gone, maybe, just maybe, a treant, will grow in this spot and start the process over again, more or less. So, let us take a kind of look-see at the damage. As you can see, it extends all the way down. And as far as we can get, this is the hole that he punched into Silvermoon, destroying the gate, leaving the crystal, ironically enough, and going straight on through. And with that being said, guys, we will be moving on to number 3. In just a second here, let me kill this off. On to number 3. Number 3 being Zuldrak. Make sure I'm saying that right there. Yep, Zuldrak. This is a throwback to number 5. I figured since we brought it up in number 5 when talking about Torga, we would address it just for the giggles. This is Zuldrak, home of the Zoldraki trolls. Make sure I'm pronouncing that right. I know there's a little corpse line around here somewhere. There we go. Drakari. Okay, home of the Drakari trolls. Now, as I've found with most troll civilizations, there are Loa, like in the case of Torga, and usually the Loa take on some animal form, except for the Loa of Death, who looks kind of like a human vampire bat hybrid, just for the giggles. But in the war with the undead, the constant scourge that was flowing out of Icecrown due to the Alliance and the Horde's combined efforts to thwart the Lich King, the Lich King could constantly send soldiers over here, resurrect them on the battlefield from fighting, say, a force of Alliance or force of Horde or a force of both, and just, he wiped this place out. Well, the Drakari thought that they could, just eat their Loa. Eat their Loa, gain their strength by eating them. And in theory, it probably worked for a certain extent, but ultimately the Drakari were still pretty much killed, and without let's be honest here, the Loa spirits survived, even though their physical bodies were just, eaten. Their spirits survived. Well, the spirits, no longer willing to help the Drakari, withdrew their aid, and this city just had no hopes. Smished, smashed, and, bing, bang, boom, you got a baby pachyderm. They just, were completely overrun and became forces for the Lich King's later triumphs. And with that being said, we will be now moving on to number 2. Okay, guys, this is number 4. Number 4. This is number 2. Number 2 in my opinion, is the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. Now, with the Alliance and Horde's arrival on Pandaria, and for those of you who have not seen the cinematic for Pandaria, I wholeheartedly recommend you checking it out. I mean, watching a foot soldier and uh, orc, I want to say warrior, getting their asses handed to them by most likely a drunken panda. I'm not just a panda. I'm the big fat panda. You know, he whooped their asses. Watch that cinematic. It is fucking awesome. Okay. Now with that being said, with their constant warmongering, the first emperor of the Pandarians sealed away the seven darker aspects of himself and Pandaria. And those became manifested as the Shah. They are doubt, fear, anger, despair, violence, hatred, and pride. Now, Garrosh ultimately sought to use pride. It is one of the final bosses in the Pandaria raid in the Vale of Eternal Blossoms. And this, as you can see, is kind of like a symbolic bursting of energy from the Shah of Pride. And it just completely obliterated the Vale. As you can see, if those trees off in the distance there are like any indication, this place has petals falling. It's actually a pretty beautiful place, and back in the day when it was first released, there were actual petals falling and stuff, and, you know, it was actually a pretty good looking place. But with that being said, this corruption spread to the Guardians of the Vale. There became a dungeon and a raid you had to do to either kill or purify these Guardians. And just, you know, a whole freaking mess due to Garrosh. Now, it was also after this point that the Horde and Alliance forces captured Garrosh, and he was put on trial, later to escape to Draenor. Well, more or less back in time to a Draenor of the past before the Sundering there. And with that, guys, we will be moving on to number 1. And finally, at number 1, guys, we are going to be covering the Throne of the Horde Warchief. This, being a Horde player for, you know, the last, I want to say, 14 years, give or take, has been a source of both sadness and kind of anger for the Horde player and me. Now, when we had Thrall, the Horde was seen as honorable, and it was, you know, actually just fighting for its place in the world. It had the displaced orcs, which came from basically an unlivable and uninhabitable planet known as, you know, Outlands at that point, aka Draenor. And they teamed up with the equally misplaced Taurens, the trolls. You know, just kind of it was a good horde at that point. Then, you know, Thrall decided to leave, and he left it to Garrosh. Now, Garrosh had a very different very different leader style versus that of Thrall. Thrall was a shaman at heart, so, you know, it was peace, you know, kind of coexistence, but fighting if it was necessary. Garrosh went out of his way to be a prick. He attacked Thrall or Proudmoore. He attacked her basic little, you know, city there, and, you know, razed it to the ground. And for those of you who played back in the day when he first took over, there was a scenario for that, where you would go in there and basically, you know, just slaughter everybody you could. Okay. Then it went from him after his trial and after he ran away like a bitch with his tail between his legs. Hey, Norbit, why you run away like a little bitch? You know, he was gone. Poof, gone. It went to Zul'jin. Or Vol'jin. Vol'jin. But it went to, you know, the troll, who was Thrall's second in command, leader of the trolls. You know, truly honorable in my opinion. It was back to getting the Horde going in the right direction. Then he was injured and ultimately died in Legion towards the very beginning of it. And it went to this crazy bitch who tried to kill us in the Siege of Lordaeron, who tried to kill us in the battle for Icecrown. You know, every mission we fight with this bitch, she's trying to kill us. And nobody can tell me that she ain't trying to kill us. Look at those red little eyes. That is one psycho bitch. Anyways, that is why we are talking about the throne of the Horde Chief, or Horde War Chief. It is or like I said, a sense of sadness and anger for me, because usually the Horde's leader is either walks off, runs away, dies, or in this case is just one crazy conniving, devil. Anyways, you don't see this kind of shift change with the Alliance, and it would be awesome if the Horde could have a war chief for more than an expansion. Just a giggle. Well, thank you guys for watching, and if you guys watched the whole video and you liked the videos I'm producing, please hit the subscribe button below. Help support the channel. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date when I go live. And if you like the video, give me a like down in the section below. Hit the comments. Give me a shout out on what you'd like to see for my next World of Warcraft top 5. And I will catch you guys on my next upload.